I knew that I would only ever have one shot of getting rid of Dr. Vello, though the things that this would lead to and where I am now, but anyway, never mind that, let's get back to where I was beforehand. So anyway, Dr. Vello had now properly entered, I'm going to call it Donna's reality. I don't know, it just makes it easier. But anyway, at first, he was all in celebrations going, "Yes, finally! My research has paid off. I have the proof that I need and can establish a link." He then pulled out a device that he had in his backpack. It looked just like a black box that had been jerry-rigged together, with wires and circuitry. And it wasn't even perfectly square, it was all kind of lopsided at angles. Clearly this was a prototype and was made in a rush. "There, now the links are established," Dr. Vale said as he set up the machinery. It was clear that this device was to establish a link between this reality and my own, so that Dr. Vale wouldn't need me to travel between the two. I needed to get that device off him now, otherwise that would ruin my plan. I couldn't just let Dr. Vale escape. After all, part of the reason why I was still alive, and why, well, I can only presume that he didn't go after Tom and my family, is because he still needed me alive. Though with this machine that was no longer the case. So there was now no reason to keep me alive, so I had no bargaining. That's fine. I wasn't planning on bargaining with him anyway. It took all my strength to pull myself back up. I wasn't in the best condition anyway. The virus had seen to that. But being flung across a warehouse didn't help either. Dr. Vell continued working on his machine, not even bothering to glance at me. I continued forward, and I could see Dr. Vello's guards then aim their weapons at me. At least they had noticed me. Vello only stopped to look up at me, once my shadow was blocking what he was doing. "Donfrey Doncaster, for your deeds I have to thank, though I am afraid your services are at an end." I just stared solemnly at him. He then stood up to face me properly. "As promised, you are free to go, and the cure to your virus. You have the cure? You already have it. I'm going to give you one warning to fully explain what you mean, because I am really... Look, you should technically be dead now, and you might still be feeling effects of the virus. You are but slowly being cured. You see, once you pass through to this reality, in order for you to survive, antibodies were created to ensure that you could pass through safely. This may have included the side effects such as the burning around your eyes. So what you're saying is effectively the cure is already happening and is taking place? Yes. Good. Then I agree. Your usefulness is over. I then grabbed the machine that was at Dr. Vello's feet and lifted it above my head. All of Dr. Vello's guards cocked their guns. "Now, Dr. Vello, be sensible. If any of your men shoot, I might just drop this little box of yours. And tell me, then how would you be able to get back to your reality?" Dr. Vello immediately raised an arm for his men to lower their weapons. "You will be trapped here too, away from your friends, your family." "Yes, I would. But at least I would have the satisfaction of knowing that they'd be safe from you. And besides, living here won't be that bad if it comes to it. But I imagine it'll be very unpleasant and frustrating for you. Your life's work all down the drain. Name anything you want, just put it down. Please, I beg of you." You see, the problem with that is, and it is a pretty big problem, because now that I know that I'm cured of the virus, true, my recovery may take some time, but still the fact that I know I've got the antibodies. I'm being cured. You have absolutely no use to me whatsoever anymore. You ask me what my desire is, because my one and only desire right now is to kill you. Dr. Vale immediately went for his pockets, grabbing out an object I hadn't seen in quite a while. It was my gun, the one that he'd taken from me, and now he was pointing it at me. You put the device down or I shoot you. Wait. Where has this reality version of you gone? You know, for someone who's supposed to be intellectually smarter than me in pretty much every way, you do miss the obvious, don't you? I miss nothing. Where is she? You see, the problem with you is you're kind of blinded. You don't really seem to notice everything in a room. You don't tend to look at everything, just the thing that you're concentrated on. You wouldn't even bother when I walked right up to you, not until it's, impeded on what you were doing. Shut up and answer me. No, for once you're gonna listen to me. In fact, you want your answer? If you're so smart, you'll figure it out. Why, what's cooking in the kitchen? Get out of here! Get out! Dr. Vale finally realised what had been happening. You see, the whole entire warehouse had been filling up with flammable gas, particularly the ones that you use for barbecue. I realised that Dr. Vale would be too focused on whatever his long life ambition and dreams were to actually notice. And his men wouldn't have smelt the gas either, due to the three of them all wearing masks that covered their nose and their mouth. While I was distracting Dr. Velo, Donna was able to sneak off and turn on each of the cylinders of gas. After Dr. Velo and his men kept running away, I gave the signal to Donna to light the gas by using the spark on the actual barbecue, but with extended wires, so that Donna would not need to be anywhere near the spark. Instantly, flames began consuming the warehouse. I distracted Dr. Vale for just long enough, but gave him just the right hint at just the right time for there to be enough gas in the room to actually ignite and start a fire, but not one that would all take us with it in just one blast. I also had all the canisters facing outwards towards the walls, so that they would burn first and the centre of the room would be fine, at least for a time being. Because of this, Dr. Velo couldn't escape, as all of the exits were now on fire. It would only be a matter of time before this warehouse came crashing down to the ground, though we would most likely suffocate or at least burn to death before that happened. Dr. Vell then rang back over to me. For the first time ever, I could see shock and fear in his face. What are you doing? This is illogical. You want to. You do not know how to use that machine. Only I am able to return us. No. Have you called for assistance or emergency services? No, I haven't done that either. Then they teleport some sort of relay. Not really a thing on this earth, apparently. Then how do you... I don't. Neither do you. But... Oh, come on. You're a smart man, Dr. Velo. Or at least you pretend to be. Well, I think you lack quite a bit of common sense, but... We both know that suffocation, while, it's not the worst way to die. Still, though it can take a bit of time, it could be painful. Why not just take that gun and end it all now, nice and quickly? For the first time, Dr. Vale paused. He looked at my gun that he was still holding. It seemed like he was contemplating. However, one of his men had seemingly had enough. He drew his gun at me and attempted to fire, despite Dr. Velo saying, "No, you fool!" But it was too late. Before he'd even finished pulling the trigger, the slight spark of the gun caused it to burst into flames and explode, since they were still far too near the wall and not in the centre. However, in a matter of time, it would be no matter where you were standing in this warehouse, the gas would be there. I realised it would also only be a matter of time before the flames actually reached the gas cylinders and they would probably explode as well. Dr. Vale then paused, thought for a moment, and then turned back to me. However, this time, the fear had gone from his eyes, and it was hard to tell through all the smoke that was building up, but it almost like he had a certain smirk on his face, one that I had not seen before.
"Oh, very clever. You almost had me fooled. Almost. I would give you credit. You are brilliant. Actually, are you not?
This isn't just a rub, the place is actually on fire. Or would you care to touch those flames just to make sure?
No. You don't plan on dying here.
Do you see any ways out for me?
I don't. But then again, I do not know this building. Its layouts. For all I know, there is a secret passage. Or perhaps you do have some mode of transport and you just lied to me.
There's not. It's just you and me.
Oh, very well. If you continue playing this charade, I might as well break it. My device, you still have not smashed it.
It's worked pretty well as a bargaining tool so far, and I think I'm going to hang on to that, thank you.
Yes, but if you truly intended me to die,
why do you not
just destroy it? After all, I could make absolutely certain that I could not get out. And in terms of a bargaining tool, you are going to die anyway. So why bother keeping it now?
My eyes dropped to the floor as Dr. Vell continued to deduct.
You knew that I would have some sort of way of getting back, because you knew I wanted to prove it. I could not exactly do that if it was just a one-way trip.
I then finally looked back at him in defeat. This was true. He had figured out my plan. My plan was to just break him down, or if not, just keep him talking or at a distance from me, long enough for either myself to figure out how to use this machine, or for him to burn and die. Staring, looking defeated at Dr. Velo.
All right then.
Tell you what then. I'll go with my plan B instead. If you set the coordinates on this to take us back, presumably you'll be able to send it to wherever. So, send us to the USP headquarters.
But I will be arrested.
Yes, you will. But you'll also have the proof. And a witness.
You know I could always get off the charge.
I'll see about that. But anyway, what have you got to lose? But only you. The rest of your men here will have to find their own way out.
Deal,
Dr. Vale said, and began walking towards me. One of the two men that was left clearly was not happy with this situation, and began running towards me, clearly intent on throttling me, or at least giving him a way out as well. However, Dr. Vale spotted me dangling the device again. He then tripped up his own man. As he fell to the ground, Dr. Vale stood on top of him, and swiftly broke his neck, and then stood back up and continued walking towards me, like nothing had just happened, like it was just a mild inconvenience to him. He gestured for me to give him the device. First things first, I said. I'd like my gun back now. Dr. Velo didn't even ask, he just handed me it. I placed it into my ripped pocket, though it did hold it good enough. Now here's the deal. I still hold this with both hands. Try anything, and I'll just pull the trigger on my gun, which will most likely destroy this machine, along with probably you and me. We don't have much time. Dr. Vale began activating the controls, knobs and switches.
You made the wise move, you know. If you had tried using this yourself, you could have ended up anywhere.
So in another reality?
No. This device can only go to realities it has been to. So, the only ones it has been to is this one and ours. The problem is getting the alignment right.
The alignment?
Our two universes do not flow perfectly together.
So I could end up anywhere.
Not just anywhere, but at any time.
Time?
Why, yes, time is always a factor.
So is it all set up?
The activation button is on your side. Press it and we will go home, where the USB will please me.
No, they won't. You'll probably find some way to wriggle out of it. Again, for the second time, I saw that smug, satisfying smirk on his face. Whereas before it had seemingly been triumph, now this would be his downfall. As this entire time, he had failed to notice what I had been keeping under my sleeve. It was a long metal pole with a sharp pointed tip on the end, which I'd also picked up when getting the gas canisters for barbecue. This pole that I still don't know the name of was meant to be put through meat, so that could be held over a barbecue without burning. It did have a handle on it which I had removed in order to slip it up my sleeve, which is why I kept it in the sleeve in which I was holding Dr. Velo's device. I'm sure his eyes would be so focused on his own creation, they would fail to notice through the small slits and holes in the shirt that I was wearing, of the long metal pole with a bladed end, ending in a tip. It did help better conceal it though by having my arm stretched out. But anyway, while Dr. Vela was activating the controls, I had slipped it out. Then, once I knew he was done setting the controls, I striked, stabbing him, pushing the sharp tip through his eye socket. His eye burst out. Since the pole had went in through his eye socket, it had nothing. Me from poking it right into his brain and out the other end. It was so quick. There were no screams of pain. In fact, there was nothing. The moment I let go of the pole, Dr. Velo's lifeless corpse slumped to the ground, completely lifeless. I had no intention of Dr. Velo living. Even if he was locked up, he'd most likely find some way of escaping. Besides, that man, he caused me so much pain and suffering, but not just on me. If it was just me, I could handle it. But he caused pain to my friends, to my family, to my children. That had sealed his fate. Death by my hand. I admit that part of me didn't want to do it. And part of me will probably always somewhat regret it. But I knew it'd be the only way to stop him. And to make sure he got what he deserved. In fact, he probably got off pretty easy. But anyway, in that moment, Dr. Velo's third and final goon finally started coming towards me, holding a lead pipe he had picked up off the floor. However, I still remained pretty calm. And I even said to him, "You see, the wrong thing, even now. I mean, come on, Dr. Velo, forgot about it. And you've seeming to forget about it as well. The one thing, the one obvious thing. Still don't realise? We're not the only two people in this warehouse." And with that, his corpse then dropped to the floor, lifeless, just like Velo's had. Donna had snuck up behind him. She had used the same method that I had to kill Dr. Velo. That was plan C, by the way, as I knew Dr. Velo's memory wasn't always the best if it wasn't relevant to what he was working on. We waited around, stood in the centre for another 10 minutes, as a section of the roof was cut out that hadn't burnt yet and was lifted out just above us, and a rope ladder was lowered, with a helicopter above. This was plan D, for myself and Donna to escape, and if I had to, I'd even sacrifice Dr. Velv's device, which was sort of plan D and a half, or E, I guess. Thankfully, it only came to plan B. I just wanted to make sure that, no matter what, Dr. Velo didn't get out of it. Half an hour later, the building collapsed. And as for the authorities, well, I thought about that as well. I told them that we were just having a barbecue. Unfortunately, it went horribly wrong, and it was horror-themed with realistic corpses, since I knew that they would find the remains of Dr. Velo and his associates. However, since like me, they weren't from this universe, they weren't be able to identify them. And without any evidence, they unfortunately would just have to take my word for it. I stayed another week with Donna to rest up, and for me to become fully cured. Once I got back to my own universe, they would be able to take a blood sample and be able to give the cure to James and Sarah. But first, I had to get back home, and I'd also realised I ran into another issue. The smoke from the fire at the warehouse had affected Dr. Vell's machinery, clogging up bits. It took me a day to clean out as much as I could. I didn't dare take it apart, however, but I could see on the screen that the coordinates weren't solid, they kept blinking, and for all I knew, Dr. Vell hadn't set the correct ones. That same night, I sat in Donna's living room. She came and sat down beside me and asked me if I was going. "You knew that this was always my plan," I said to her. She placed her hand on mine and said that she couldn't lie, and said that she didn't want me to go, but I should. And even though she wanted to come with me, she knew that her place was here with her son, and my place was there with my kids. She did say, though, that who knows, we might be able to see each other again. But we both knew that would be highly unlikely, as we both knew that neither of us knew how to operate Dr. Vell's equipment, and it seemed unlikely that he would have told anyone anyway. I turned to look Gunnar in the eyes. The longer I wait, the harder it is, and I've done all I can here. You've now been given the cure for, or should I say the antibiotic, for the Amistra virus, and so's your son. I'm sorry I caused all this, me coming here. Even though before you see it, I am aware it wasn't my fault, but I can't help but feel partly responsible. I will miss you. And, I don't know what else to say. As I was mumbling, Donna used her other hand and pressed the activation button on Dr. Velo's machine. "Goodbye," she said, as her and the world around me started to fade away. I didn't feel any pain this time, mainly because Dr. Velo was right, since I'd gone through it once before. I now had the antibodies, so this time it was a painless experience. I then suddenly fell to the ground, as I was no longer sitting on Donna's settee. Instead, I was sitting on some grass at the side of a road as cars went by, so I was still on Earth. Perhaps not a USB, but I was back in my own universe. Finally back home again. Though it was a bit odd. The landscapes that I saw, everything seemed just a bit odd. It seemed too perfect. I assumed that they must have been rebuilding things and got things back to how they were before. I was quite impressed. Still, though, there was just something that was making me feel a bit uneasy. I then got knocked on the head by a rolled up newspaper, like someone in a passing by car decided to throw at me, and declaring me a freak as they did so. I promptly gave them the middle finger as they drived off, out of my sight. I then picked up the newspaper, and then went down onto my knees. I had a panic attack, there and then, as it began to rain, as I read the dates on the newspaper. I might be back in my own universe, but I was in the wrong year. I was stuck in 1993. Hey, did you enjoy that episode? Well, of course you did. But you could enjoy it even more. All episodes of the Donfrey Doncaster Podcast are now available on cassette, which also include a free MP3 download as well. Click the link in the description to audios now.